coming to you with a talk about credit cards and building credit. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have questions if this is your first time doing some research on credit cards and looking at different options and how to build credit. I'm going to guide you in some of the steps to help you get on the right track to building credit. So let's get started. So a key idea to what credit is, whenever you think about credit, it has three aspects. The first is capacity, and that's really in reference to your capacity to borrow or your capacity to develop a business or to have a career. The second is capital, what you own, and the third is character, who you are. And all these things are factored into what most banks or even companies determine in giving you credit. Uh, Examples of credit are mortgages, auto loans, or business loans. And a key example about credit is their loans and things that you borrow from, and it's given to you based on who you are, what you have, and what you can get. It's the easiest way to think about it. With respect to credit cards, they're what we would call revolving credit. Um, and it's interesting because revolving credit is more expensive than just a regular loan. Uh, the reason it's more expensive is because it gives you access to funds when you need it, and you can pay it back or take it out according to what you negotiate with the person lending to you. And this is the most common type of credit that's given out today. The other reason that it's really expensive is because it's sometimes associated with more risk for the lender, because things like mortgages or car loans are collateralized or they're attached to some asset or something. So if you don't pay it back, at least the people lending you the money could use that asset to get their value back. Now, what a lot of companies will use to determine whether you're a good person to lend to, aside from the three C's, is your FICO score. And this is what people refer to whenever they talk about credit score. They're actually referring to the FICO score. And there's three companies that issue a FICO score: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And these are the three main companies that issue credit scores for major firms like Bank of America or Chase Bank to determine if you're a good person to lend to. And sure, there's some mystery behind it, but if according to myficoscore.com, they actually have one of the ways that they create that calculation. So if you notice here, 30% is based on amounts owed. This is based on how much debt you have, right? 10% is based on new credit. If you apply for a credit card, that will affect 10% of your credit score. 15% is based on the length of history you have with credit. So if you have a credit card for 2 years or 5 years, that impacts about 15%. Let's see here. It also shows 35% based on payment history, and there's another 10% there that's based on another aspect of your credit history. But all in all those things come together to create your FICO score. So a key thing here is if you have student debt, it impacts it only to a certain extent, because it does show up on your credit score or your credit report, but it doesn't impact your credit score if you are delinquent on those payments, right? So as far as what if I have student debt, does that impact the credit score? Not to the degree that it impacts the 30% of how much you owe. It impacts it more on new credit and how accurate you are with your payment. Now, some key things here that I want to highlight. So the APR means the annual percentage rate, right? And if you see here, it could be anywhere from 17 to 24.24%. What this is referring to is the interest rate that's charged on the balances you keep on the card. Now, since it's annual percentage rate, you would assume that it's charged per year, but that's just the rate that's accumulated if you leave the balance for a year. Um, in most cases, credit cards actually calculate the interest per diem. So if you want to get the actual rate that you're getting charged per day, you would take whatever number you get. Let's assume that you get 24% interest rate. 24% divided by 365. And that will give you the interest per day, right? So the biggest concern, right, is if you don't calculate it, what could end up happening is you end up figuring that you're actually paying a lot more than just calculating or estimating. Maybe if you charge 24%, all right, if I leave the balance for a month, let me divide that by 12 and it'll only be 2%. But the reality is you're actually getting charged more because it's per day, right? Key thing with interest, here you'll see that it says, sorry, this part right over here. It says right here that your due date will be a minimum of 21 days after the closing of each bill. What this means is if you pay the balance or if you make a purchase, after 21 days of that purchase, they will start charging you interest per day. So if you make a payment towards the balance before that 21-day period and bring it down to zero, you won't pay interest. Okay? What else? See here. Second thing I want to highlight is the balance transfers. So here is a balance transfer APR. What a balance transfer is it allows you that if you have another credit card or if you want to just take the balance that's being loaned to you and put in a checking account, a savings account, or an investment account, they allow you to do that at a different APR. And usually this APR rate is higher than the regular APR rate. Okay? And why somebody would do that is because sometimes they have promotional rates where they charge no interest. But with interest rates going up, that's probably gonna come to a screeching halt pretty soon. Cash advances are just that. It's the bank giving you an advance of cash that you're able to get access to. And this is at a substantially higher rate. As you can see here, they have 26.24% on the rate that they're charging you. Okay. What else? How to avoid paying interest. So we want to discuss that. And then another key thing is when you're looking at credit cards, a lot of them have really cool perks and things that they give you, like cash back or points towards airline tickets. But they come at a fee. So, you know, this one has a $0 intro fee, but then after that, it's $95. So if you don't pay interest on the credit card, you have to also take into account that you might be paying an annual fee. And that's something that, you know, if I gave somebody permission to take $95 from my pocket, I want to get some really good benefits for that. And the last key thing here is credit cards versus savings, right? So you have, let's say, for example, there is a new laptop that you want to buy for about $2,000. So you have a choice. Do you want to put it on your credit card, or do you want to take out from a CD that you might have? So some of the key metrics here on the right side, you have the savings accounts that gives you a 1% interest rate. If you divide that by 12, that's about 0.08% per month, right? And if it's a 1-year CD and you withdraw early, they charge us about $35. So, you know, if you take out say you had a 2,000 in the CD, and you take it out to buy the laptop, after the fees is taken out, let's say you don't wait till the year ends, you end up only taking out $1,966.60. And the difference that you have to pay is $33.40, right? Instead of doing that, you actually have the option to use a credit card, where the credit card, you just be able to pay it, but then the interest being charged, the monthly rate is 2%. That 2% out of 2,000 would actually be $40. So in the difference of what it's actually costing you, right? The taking out of the savings account would cost you less than actually using the credit card. Sorry. And the reason is because if you look at the difference, right? Having it in the CD for a month, they would pay out $1.60. And even though they get charged a $35 fee, the real difference that you're paying is $33.40 to pay for the whole $2,000 item, right? Now with the credit card, you're not just paying $2,000, you're paying $2,000 and then 2% interest rate. And this is an estimate, because remember, if it's per diem, it's going to be substantially more for every day that you leave the balance on there. Okay? Now, in the case where you have a promotional rate and you're not getting charged interest, then that would be a different story, and that would be a different case. Because what you could do is break down the payments. So instead of paying $2,000 up front, you're paying $2,000 over the period that they give you no interest. And then you leave the money in the savings and you're able to get the full 1%, which is about $20 over the year. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have an investment or an IRA account that's giving you 5% or 10%, that's about $200 that you're saving up. So the key thing is to look at the difference between what you're earning, right, and what you're giving up by taking out of the savings and using it to buy the item. Whereas a credit card, they give you access to cash that you already have, and it's at a low cost, at a cheaper cost if you could afford it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me at aswars1@bergen.edu. Thank you so much for your time, and take care, guys.